welcome to our channel, Thai Food for a Tater. My name is Alicia. You have probably seen me in some of our other videos, but today I'm doing something a little different. Today I'm the Crocheting Auntie. Now you probably saw I posted a video the other day where I was crocheting. I wasn't really chatting at all, but just kind of me hanging out, crocheting, and I want to continue with that theme, but today we'll be doing a little chit chat and we'll kind of see how it goes. So if you saw the previous video, you saw that I was working on a project which probably appeared to you as a blanket, and it was. It was actually a small blanket for my boyfriend's dog. So I crocheted a little blanket and gave it to the dog already the other day, actually last night, and he loved it. So today I'm going to be starting on something completely new. So before I had a really great visual, I was holding it up and you could see what I was working on. Today is literally just like a brand new project. Here's the yarn. And in fact, so we'll go over what I'm using. So I have this really pretty dark blue. It's like a midnight blue, very pretty. Got the big skein for that one. And then along with that, I'm going to be using this blue. It's like a little bit of a turquoisey, but it's more of a blue. And then this one is so beautiful. It's this like glittery, sparkly. Let me see the right color, the right light. It's a blue, but it's like a hint of a greenish color to it. It's very pretty. So I have more than just these 3 skeins. I'm going to be using quite a few, but obviously I don't need all, like, whatever, 8 of them right now at the beginning, and definitely not to show you. And when I say I just started, literally I have just started. I'm like on the 2nd row. But this is good because now we can have a conversation about, as a crocheter, the decisions you have to make regarding, like, the design, the stitch type, the needle type, all that stuff. And in fact, for those of you who are maybe new to crocheting, or maybe you're just unfamiliar, we can have a little discussion about some of these things. So for any project, you have to decide, like, how you're going to make it, what you envision it to look like. Not just the type, like whether it's in like a scarf or a blanket, but even just, what's the design, what are the colors. Even after you pick the colors, what's going to be like the pattern for the colors? Is it going to be the same amount of like red, white, blue, 5 of each row, or is it going to be 1 or 2 different stitches? How many different stitches? Like all those questions, So when I was sitting down last night to just do just the chain and figuring out how long I wanted this to be, I was thinking about all of that, because sometimes I'll know for a project like I want to do exactly this one particular thing, but sometimes I kind of just know the colors, and that's kind of it. And then I'll just kind of, when I start crocheting, realize like what I want to do, So this one, I'm at the beginning of it. I'm still like, it's kind of up in the air. And in fact, I'm just now thinking like, do I want to do? Oh, actually, let me back up because this is a question, and maybe you guys can help me with this in the comments. So, a little background. I started crocheting when I was 6 years old. My grandmother taught me. And in fact, a couple years back, I came across like in an old box of like keepsakes. I had found like one of the scarves that I made when I was like probably 7 or 8, and it was actually not so bad, but it was clearly made when, like, I made it when I was still learning, so it's funny. But she showed me, and she of course started with like a single stitch, and then I learned, like a double stitch, and then worked my way up from there. And in fact, I know that there are booklets you can buy, or like big books or small ones, or pamphlets at, like Joann's or Michael's or wherever you get your yarn, that will have this, like, the crocheting, like, shorthand. And, like, I understand what it's saying, like, chain this, or, chain 2, or whatever, double stitch, whatever. But I have to have someone visually show me. So whenever I would want to learn, like, a new stitch, I'd show my grandma, like, or I'd tell her, like, show me something new, and she'd be like, oh, just do this. I'm like, okay, perfect. And I'd show her again, like, you did it like this, right? She's like, yeah, you got it. I'm like, okay. I have to have that visual. I feel like a lot of you are probably like that too, But just seeing it in words, I'm like, like I could probably figure it out if I really needed to, but I just really don't. So for a lot of them, though, she would show me a stitch, and I mean, she was teaching me this. I mean, probably into my early 20s, she was still teaching me some stuff. But she would tell me names, and then it's like, do I remember the names of the stitch types, or would I like make up my own? So there's like a thing. Okay, let me just think of the stitches I know. Not too many. I'm sure many of you know way more stitches than I do. I really just know a handful, but it's the good ones that you can do it. I mean, honestly, if you just know a single stitch, if you just know that one only, you could do anything. You can make a scarf, blanket, whatever. You know, it doesn't really matter. You can get fancier, and everyone kind of has their favorite. Like I almost always will do a shell stitch. Now that's what we called it, but I'm wondering if like what we called a shell stitch, other people call something else. So a shell stitch for us was a double stitch, but it was like 3 and 1 skip 2, 3 and 1 skip 2, 3 and 1 skip 2, like you know. And I just naturally will always typically do that one unless I'm thinking specifically I want to do something else. And then of course you can do a double stitch, just 1 and 1, you know, a single stitch, you know. There's like the half. My grandma would call it a half stitch, but I'm like that doesn't make sense. It's like a 1.5 stitch, you know. You guys probably know what I'm talking about for that one. Then there's the one, a puff stitch. Oh god, I haven't done that in a while. I have to maybe like muscle memory, where it's like you start to do a double stitch, but you like loop it in, and you get like a little puffy thing, you know. And then the one, I don't know what the name is, but I always called it the fan stitch, where it's like a shell stitch. Instead of doing like 3 and 1 skip 2, it's 5 and 1 skip 4, 5 and 1 skip 4. So you really get this whole like fan effect. I like doing that one a lot. But I mean, so yeah, so I'm wondering, like that's what we just called it, but there might actually be a more technical term, or the puff stitch, because the puff stitch does look puffy, but there might be a more technical term. I don't know. But I'm sure that's true for a lot of people, like especially if it's like kind of a thing that's handed down from like, you know, grandmother to daughter or to grandchild, where like you in your own family you have names for them, you know. And it's really not even a female only thing. I know I said grandmother, granddaughter, but like in reality we all know that. In fact, I knew someone who was a male who crocheted, so it's amazing, you know. And certain cultures it's going to be more. It might even be traditional for the males too, you know. But I mean, obviously, no denying it. I think like in at least in Western culture, it's typically women over men. I wish that would, you know, change. I feel like I think a lot of people could benefit from the artistic expression, creativeness, but also just the relaxing nature of it, you know. Well, I mean, we say that it's relaxing, but sometimes I feel like I crochet because I'm in that panic of like I need to feel productive. Like even when I'm watching a movie trying to relax, I'm like gotta feel like I'm doing something, like, you know, all my work's done, or I've answered all the emails or whatever it is, you know, no laundry's done, but I still have to feel like I'm doing something else that's productive. So like, I can crochet, or I'll do a puzzle. I do puzzles a lot. That's a video for another day, you know. But yeah, so like it is relaxing. It can definitely be relaxing, but it definitely can also be something that keeps your mind, you know. You're like, okay, I'm working on something. Well, and especially when you're like, I need to be working on things for like the holidays are coming up, and I want to make sure I get a few blankets done, and you know, multiple reasons why people crochet. And oh my god, I'm trying to get this very last one in, and it's being difficult. Okay, and also it doesn't help that I have these on. Nails are new to me. I've been doing fake nails for what are we in August? Since May maybe of this year, like very recently. And I did short ones, and this is like the second pair I've had that are longer. I kind of worked my way up. If you can even see, like the lighting's kind of odd right here, but like they're long, but they're not like crazy long. Like I'm used to them, but it definitely took me a second when I was crocheting to like, okay, I have to hold this just ever so slightly differently, you know. That's another thing too. Sorry, I said that down kind of hard. That's another thing too. Needle type. You know, when my grandma showed me when I was younger, she showed me with an H. And for those of you who are unaware, like needle size goes up like as you're going through the alphabet. So an H for me was like standard what I used, and then I would use like an I. But now I've been using J for like years. It feels most comfortable to me. But every once in a while, depending on the project, I might use like a K. I've used like an N before, depending on, for those of you who are unaware, like depending on the thickness of the yarn, you might need to go up a needle size just to be able to, you know, capture it. Or depending on your project, do you want it to have a really tight stitch or a really loose one, you know. And also you as the individual crocheter might have a really, you know, very, you know, tight stitch or a loose one, so you might need to adjust the needle size because of that. So, okay, so now, and also, I was going to say that also, I know a lot of people will start a project, they do just a chain, right? You just chain, whatever. Like this one, I lost count because I was just kind of eyeballing it. I think it was like I chained 150, maybe more. I don't know. But, and then I know a lot of people after that initial chain will start, like, do their project kind of right after that. I like to do a single stitch in that chain before I even decide what I'm going to do, just so I have a sturdier base. I'm sure some of you might be thinking I do that too, but I didn't learn it that way. I started doing that on my own, and the other people in my life who crochet, they don't do this either, unless they've changed what they do. So here's the point. Here's where I got to decide. I think because I'm going to rotate between these 3 colors, I'm thinking I want to do something kind of fun. I think I might do maybe 3 different stitches. So maybe I'll do like, let me think. Okay, so I got the dark blue first. I can do like a standard, the shell stitch, 3 in 1, skip 2, 3 in 1, skip 2, because I'm used to that. And I might end up doing maybe more of the dark blue throughout it. Then maybe for the turquoisey color, this really pretty like bluish. You know, I'm so good with color names, but of course now that I'm trying to think of the color names, I'm like, oh, because I'm like aqua, not seafoam, that's more of a green. Aqua maybe? It's definitely not a turquoise. It's not a teal. It's not really a blue. I can't say like, sky blue or... I feel like there is definitely... Let me see what they named it. Watch, they just named it a number. Is there even a color name? I don't think so. Dang. Oh, it says teal. This is not teal. Whoever named this Mainstays yarn, that's not a teal. Anyway, it doesn't matter. But maybe I'll do like a puff stitch with this one. And then, ooh, yeah, I think so. And then I think with this one, it'll be a really pretty to do like a fan stitch. The one I was talking about, like 5 in 1, skip 4. I think a fan stitch would be cool. But I don't know. I think just with this project, I want to just do something really fun. Maybe do like, a few more rows of the dark blue. Maybe like 5 of the dark blue, then like 4 of the turquoisey color, bluish turquoisey, and then maybe like 3 of the glitter. Because also the skeins are different. Ooh, ah! Oh my gosh. The skeins are also, I kicked my table. That's what happens. Okay. The skeins are different sizes too, so I think just to make sure I use the skeins evenly, that might work. Okay, so what did I say? Okay, sorry. Oh my god. Is this the end of my video? Because maybe that's the world trying to like hint to me that I need to stop. Okay. Well, we'll just do another minute or two. Everything's set up and works perfectly on the test. I know it's time to record. Things always go weird. Yeah, so I think I'm going to do the shell stitch with like a double. And we'll go from there. But also, like, it'd be interesting to hear from you all. Like, what are your stories of, like, how you learned to crochet? I feel like many of us have a similar story with that. Like, an aunt taught us or a grandmother, But maybe everyone's story is probably a little different. Or how old were you? Like, I remember specifically being like 6 years old. And maybe I wasn't really into it at 6 years old. But I definitely learned then. And then I got into it I feel like maybe when I was like around puberty, I got way more into it. Like, I'd always kind of, crocheted as when I was young, but I definitely got much more into it when I was maybe like 11, 12, 13, when I think I actually had more of the wherewithal to like actually like create something like a scarf, or something like that. And then of course, like in my early 20s, I got super into it. And I've ever since, for the last 20 years, I've just been doing, different projects, blankets. God, I had an Etsy shop for a long time. I sold a lot of blankets, especially during the holidays, blankets and scarves. So, but I also just loved doing it. It was a lot of fun. But I think that would be it for this video. And, I'm actually gonna start this. Look, it's a real start too. It's a real start. And when you guys see me on the next video, I'll probably have even more started. And maybe I'll even be on the next color, and we'll go from there. And I'd love to hear some of your comments about when you first started learning. And I love this idea of, like I said, I think many men do crochet and knit. I feel that's absolutely true. But for the most part, it's mostly women, and I love the idea of kind of having a shared hobby with other women, and we can talk about our experiences with that. It's very cool. So I will see you guys in the next one.